Hi, this is Jay Billis of ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
And the ML Sports Platter is back with you all over the major platforms. Please do download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review. Really appreciate all of that. It does help spread the word of the Platter. And we are presented by our great friends at Bryant and Stratton College, Syracuse. 2 great locations, Oswego Street in Liverpool and James Street in the city. They have 2- and 4-year degrees starting very, very soon. And don't forget about their brand new nursing program as well. Bryant and Stratton College, Syracuse, the official college of the ML Sports Platter. Huge tip of the cap, thank you as well, the Welch and Company Jewelers, Camillus Golf Club, and Sit Means Sit Syracuse, the #1 dog training in the area. If you're in and around Central New York, you need that best dog training. Improve your life, improve your pup's life, you name it. Go there, free consultations right now. They'll evaluate everything, every dog, every breed, every behavior. Dave and his staff really doing a great job. One of 147 franchise locations for Sit Means Sit around the country. Go ahead and visit them online at sitmeansit.com. That's sitmeansit.com. Sit Means Sit Dog Training of Syracuse is a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. I'm super pumped up to chat some baseball and some stats with the incredible customer success and social media correspondent for Stathead. She's a queen of stats for Talking Yanks, and she's been in her previous days. You probably remember her from ESPN, the Monday Morning Quarterback, SB Nation, The Athletic, New York City, River Ave Blues, you name it, she's done it. Really, really recommend to follow on Twitter here as well, at KT Sharp. That's at KT Sharp. Katie Sharp, welcome aboard. Thanks so much for coming back on. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mike. Yeah, it's great to talk to you again.
Let's jump right out of the gate. Will the Yankees make the playoffs?
It's going to be tough. I'm not going to lie to you. They've got a bunch of teams to jump ahead of, and right now they just have been devastated by not just injuries, but injuries plus COVID. They just haven't been able to have any consistency. You know, what I see is this team is, they'll break out for 2 or 3 games, and then they'll look horrible for 3 or 4 games. So in order for them to make that playoff push, they're going to have to find some consistency, syncing both their pitching and their hitting.
Okay, so on that note, though, they have gotten a recent jolt out of one Anthony Rizzo. The Cubs blew up the roster from the World Series 5 years ago, and I know that you have been tweeting out just staggering numbers with this guy. Can you get into some of the things that he has done so far in Pinstripes, Katie, some of the remarkable numbers?
Well, I think my favorite one is it was tweeted out a couple days ago after he'd played 2 games with the franchise, and he had reached base 8 times in those 2 games combined, and he's the first Yankee to ever do that in their first 2 games with the franchise. So that's just remarkable if you think about all the players that have come through in Yankees history to have one, him be the only player that's reached base 8 times combined in the first 2 games. And I think that just really speaks to the kind of player that he is. He's not very flashy, but he is well above average offensively and well above average defensively. And that's just a player that the Yankees haven't really seen on a consistent basis that also has durability in terms of number of games played. So I just think what he's done so far coming into New York has been remarkable.
What are some other things that have jumped out to you this year in a good or bad way, numbers and anything else in between about this team? I had them pegged to win the division, losing the postseason because I just didn't see the timely hitting. I didn't see enough pitching. I haven't changed on that. I think even if they make it, I've changed a little bit on the division, but I think they'll actually make the playoffs. I think there's some way that they'll do it, walking on that tightrope. They'll suck everybody in and then boom, fall down again in the playoffs. But so far this year, is there anything else that, in a good way or bad way, that kind of you said, man, I didn't see that coming?
Well, I think in a bad way, I think it's the explosiveness of the offense. And I just really want to get to the specifics of that. Because, I mean, this is basically essentially the same offensive team that we've had, the past couple of years when they've been leading the league in runs scored. And I think the one stat that really tells this is the number of times that they've scored 5 runs in an inning. And this used to be the Yankees' MO. They would just kind of bludgeon teams with these breakout innings, and then the teams would just kind of never be able to catch up again. And right now, I believe they're up to, I think it's only about 7 times they've scored 5+ runs in an inning this season. And there's only one team that's done that fewer times, the Marlins. So that to me is a really telling stat. I mean, there's a bunch of other stats that you can go through, the double plays, just pure runs scored. But to me, it's really that explosiveness that they've been missing this season.
Tell you what, the double plays have been brutal. And I know I'm not going to jump on and bury and crush analytics in baseball because I know that you're a big stat person. So I don't want to go down that road because I know you'll defend them more times than not. I'm not. I think there's a place in the game for them, but I do think we've gotten a little away from baseball, the actual game, and the analytics have changed that. With the spin rate and the launch angle and the exit velo and all these different things. I'm okay with some of the little numbers here and there, but I think we've gotten kind of away from the old traditional baseball way. And, there's a lot of pop-ups, too, in the game right now because of this over-swinging stuff, Katie. You at least have to admit that. I mean, the double plays and the pop-ups and all the rest, it's just an ugly look.
Yeah, I mean, but the double plays you could almost see coming because the Yankees, are extremely right-handed. Well, they were before they got Gallo and Rizzo. They have slow players, and they hit the ball hard, and that's base, and they get on base, too. It's not like they don't ever get on base, but they get on base through walks or whatnot.
They're on base all the time.
That's kind of the perfect recipe for hitting into a lot of double plays. Oh. Guys who hit right-handed, who are slow, and hit the ball hard.
Yeah.
And the one thing that's changed is they're hitting the ball hard on the ground this year rather than hitting the ball over the fences. I think, and the thing you said about analytics is really, in my opinion, it's there to provide information. But once you provide the analytics and you provide the information, then it's up to other people to then, use that information in the correct way. And so analytics are fine. It's just the way that you use those analytics. And, so you can blame the people that are using the analytics on the Yankees. They're not doing it in the right manner. And that's causing a lot of problems and issues for this team this season.
Katie Sharp, our guest here, of course, the Stathead social media customer success consultant, queen of stats for Talking Yanks and the John Boy folks over there as well. Just great work in the past with a bunch of platforms, including River Ave Blues and The Athletic New York City. She's on Twitter, and I would suggest following. It's a must follow at KT Sharp. That's at the letter K, the letter T, and then Sharp. Joey Gallo, should the Yankees have gone out and gotten him?
Absolutely.
Really?
He does a lot for this team, especially with the left-handed power. He gets on base a ton, and I think he fits really well into this lineup. And he's extremely athletic. He's a terrific defender. Like I said, I think that he's if you think about the people that have played the outfield for the Yankees this season, and if we just go through it, he's basically pushing Gardner to the bench, for the most part. And then obviously with Frazier hurt and whatnot, and you've got people like Greg Allen, and you've got this Jonathan Davis guy coming up. I mean, just to have him in the lineup and have his bat, his defense in there every day in the outfield, I think that he's going to provide a lot of help for the Yankees this season.
DJ LeMahieu, the Yankees basically stole him, 2-year deal, and then they obviously paid him in the offseason going into 2021. I just love watching the guy play baseball. He's a throwback guy. He's versatile, multiple positions, hits for average and power, slick field while he's manning multiple positions. Do you see him, this year, one of the big things with the Yankees not hitting with runners in scoring position, as you know, Katie, is LeMahieu was struggling for a good long while. Do you see him coming out of that right now?
It's tough. He's still not hitting the ball with any authority, and he's not going to the opposite field as much as he does, and that's really his MO, is to hit the ball hard to the opposite field and to make contact. And he's having probably his worst season in years in terms of that. just really barreling up on the ball, and you know, you wouldn't think it, but his strikeout rate is going to be a career high for him, except for his rookie season. So I don't see him. I haven't seen the consistency from him. I mean, I know he had that long on base streak, but really what it was a lot of singles. Some walks in there, those 1-for-4s, 1-for-5s.
Yep.
So if you look at his overall on base percentage and his batting average during that on base streak, it wasn't extremely impressive. So it's possible he's maybe coming out. I mean, he had some good couple games against the Orioles recently, but once again, it's the Orioles, so you got to take that with a little grain of salt. But I really need to see him both hitting the ball hard and hitting the ball to the opposite field with consistency before I can say that he's totally back.
I can't stand watching Aroldis Chapman pitch. The smirks and the postseason failures and the neck tattoos and the sweating and the off the field stuff. I'm so over this guy. I wish they'd trade him. Do you think that they should trade him A and B? I know you've been tweeting a lot about Loizaga. Is he a guy who you would give the closer job to?
Well, I don't think that Aroldis Chapman has much trade value. Essentially, I mean, he's up there, getting up there in age.
Yeah.
I know he's been pitching better of lately, but his value is not great right now. I absolutely would love to see Loizaga get more high leverage innings. Just the combination that he has with that fastball and the curveball. And he's actually talked openly about liking to pitch under pressure and liking to pitch in the ninth inning. And the closer mentality is basically half of the battle when you're trying to be a closer. So I absolutely would love to see Jonathan Loizaga get some more high leverage innings and start closing some more games.
Okay, I got one more for you, Katie. And this has been outstanding as always. Stathead. Give my listeners an idea of what Stathead is all about, that platform.
Well, it's terrific. What it basically is, it's just a super powerful, amazing research tool where you can basically have access to Baseball Reference's entire database of Major League Baseball stats going back to 1901. And there's a ton of different ways that you can slice and dice the data, filter it, and you can get as granular down to the pitch level. You can look at like specific hits, specific home runs everybody's hit. There's ways to find streaks and spans and best seasons. It's incredible. It's maybe a little bit overwhelming, but it can basically answer any question to do with sports. And it's not just baseball. We have Stathead for basketball, hockey, and football as well. So I think it's just the most wonderful thing if you're a sports fan and you're interested in stats and learning more about the game.
Sounds amazing. Talking Yanks, Stathead, etc. Get her work on Twitter at KT Sharp. That's at the letter K, the letter T Sharp. A must follow on Twitter. Previously, ESPN, the Monday Morning Quarterback, SB Nation, The Athletic, New York City, and River Ave Blues. Been at it for a long time, and someone in the business who helps set the standard. Katie Sharp, thank you a million. Appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Mike.
The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by Rosie's Corner. If you're in and around Central New York, make sure you head on over to Rosie's every single Friday. It's Fish Friday with your mac and cheese, your coleslaw, and your French fries as well. They've got the pizza and wing combinations, gift cards for any occasion, and of course, hot and cold subs, your chicken salads and Pepsi products and desserts all the way through the cooler at Rosie's Corner. Right in front of the Brewerton Bridge, right off the Bartell Road exit, in and around Central New York. Home for the holidays, seeing friends and family. Man, grab some Rosie's. Why cook during the summertime, right? It's too hot sometimes. Go see my friends at Rosie's Corner. Jason, Jody, and the gang doing an amazing job. Big tip of the cap, thank you as well to Brewerton Ace Hardware, Sit Means Sit Syracuse, and the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group. Become a better leader both personally and professionally with the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group. Log on today to vcgtransforms.com. See what programs you can get involved with as we speak. And I do want to mention a quick little shout out, thank you to the Swan and Whitaker families for their support of the platform, as well as Liverpool Physical Therapy and Camillus Golf Club. Boy, I'll tell you what, let's keep the baseball talk going, keep the Yankee talk going with a guy who is the host of the Short Porch, just does an unbelievable job for Barstool Sports. He's on Twitter at Barstool Hubs. That's at Barstool HUBBS. He's a Yankees and MLB writer and editor for Barstool Sports. And again, the host of the Short Porch, my favorite Yankee podcast, also happens to be a graduate of Syracuse University. It's Eric Hubbs. Eric, buddy, thank you so much for jumping on. Welcome back.
What's going on, Mike? Pleasure to be back.
Well, look, before we get to the Yanks, you're a Syracuse grad. I saw your tweet as well. A lot of people get nuts over this Boeheim's Army stuff. You enjoyed watching those games, and they won it all. So how about some thoughts on that first?
I happen to be watching the last few minutes, and they won. I do not follow them religiously, but yeah, they've been in that tournament forever, for years, and it was good. They won. Funny though, like if you look at that team, there's some guys that did not play for Syracuse that were contributing.
Right.
Sorry, my legs are lost. There were some guys on that team who did not play for Syracuse that were contributing, but a win's a win. I'll take it.
Out of the Yankees, last night I'm watching Chapman do it again, sweating, walking around the mound, looking ridiculous, the faces, the tattoos on the neck, the off-field stuff. I'm so done with this guy, and all I could think about as I'm watching this clown is your guys' segment on the Short Porch about the bullpen, kind of power ranking these guys, what three you can count on. I'm telling you, at this point, I'm ready to just ditch this guy and give Loizaga the closer spot, Eric.
Yeah, and they have Loizaga warming up the whole inning, and
Correct.
It's like, well, why is he warming up if they're not going to bring him in to face Haniger?
Sure.
Which was bizarre. But, yeah, I had him fourth on my trust tree, and I had Chad Green ahead of him, and Chad Green's also another guy who just sometimes when he doesn't have it, he gets rocked. Loizaga is the most consistently dominant pitcher by far. Maybe they're trying to stay away from him because they used him the night before. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's a tightrope walk with him. A lot of these times it's been less disastrous, let's say, with Chapman. Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's been better. It's still a heart attack city when you're watching him. Same thing with Zach Britton, really, with his control. You never can trust these. It's never easy with those two guys right now. With Loizaga, it's a lot less easier, lot less calmer. But it is what it is. They're winning games.
And Joey Gallo gets on the board, huh? I know you guys. We'll get to the gear. I want to promote some stuff that you guys are selling too. But Joey Gallo on the board, and I saw your video clip there from the Yes Network, and he's, boy, I tell you what, him and Rizzo, just great fits for this team, really.
It's really crazy the starts they've had. Now I guess him a little slower, but he was really producing. He's getting on base. He's a go-go outfielder. Rizzo's been great, obviously, since he's joined the team. Yeah, it's great. The impact they've had is fantastic. Just what they needed since the trade deadline. They only got one loss. They're rising up the standings. It's really cool. Also, you mentioned the clip. It also it plays so much more. He grew up a diehard Yankees fan. His family's from Long Island. He's living his lifelong dream. That was a massive home run. It felt like a playoff moment when the ball finally landed in the Short Porch, but it was great to see, and it was a massive, massive, massive win, especially because they got Wandy Peralta starting today with a full bullpen game. You don't know what the hell's, you don't know what's going to happen. So you needed that win. Let's just say that.
That's right. Eric Hubbs with us here on the ML Sports Platter, the terrific Barstool Sports host of the Short Porch, MLB Yankees writer at Barstool Hubs on Twitter. We'll ask you a couple more here, Eric, and then promote your stuff and let you run. Two-parter here. Will the Yankees make the playoffs, and do you want them to make the playoffs? And the reason I asked the second part is you guys are very realistic. There's a difference between reality and negativity. You guys are realistic. You tell it how it is. I'd like to think I'm like that as well. Some of me gets the feeling that if they miss the playoffs, maybe that is finally the wake-up call that Hal needs. Maybe there is never going to be a wake-up call. I don't know, but do you want them to make it? Do you think they'll make it?
I'd answer your question differently if they didn't go out and go get Rizzo and Gallo, because this was, now granted, obviously, they didn't go with luxury tax. They paid a premium on prospects to not have to pay the Cubs or Rangers any money, or these guys, but getting Gallo and Rizzo at the deadline showed that, hey, they believe this team is good enough with a little bit of a push. It's a lot of bit of a push, actually. And, they needed these left-handed power bats so desperately. It's like, what are we doing with a righty-dominant lineup with the short porch and right, just not take advantage of it while everyone else is? Well, now they're making a run here, and yes, they are going to make the playoffs, and I think they're going to make a run towards the division as well. The Red Sox are in a free fall. They also play the Rays a ton, so those guys are going to, beat each other up here down the stretch. Yankees play, I think they play the Red Sox 6 more times and the Rays 3 more times. So I don't think division, as we're talking here on August 6th, is out of the question. I believe they're 5 back in the loss column. And in terms of the wild card, they're 2 back of the A's. They're coming up on the Red Sox here for the number 1 spot. The playoffs are very, very much in play, as I think division is as well. So I am very much rooting for them to make the playoffs and go far. I'm not that crazy.
Yeah, 1.5 games out of the second wild card. Isn't it incredible, by the way? You play all these games. The Yankees have had, really, until this point, a really rough season. Now the Corona stuff is added in there. They've had the injuries, the off and on stuff, the Brett Gardner, all the things that go into it that have made you and I and many others so frustrated. And we still have 2 whole months of baseball left. It's unbelievable, isn't it, when you think about, hey, there's still 45, 50 games left, guys, you know?
It's really such a long season, and every year, without fail, I'll trick myself into believing the season, the sky's falling in May, like a 7 to 10, Now, granted, this year there's some many more worst losses of the seasons than I could ever imagine in one season. And like you said, we still have 2 months to go. There's like 7, 8 that you can count on 2 hands, that make you just want to, not go to sleep. That's how bad they are. So it's been a really long year. But yeah, without fail, sometimes a baseball fan will trick themselves into thinking the world's ending when there's so much time left. It's crazy.
Give me the key Yankee starting pitcher, the key bullpen guy, and the key offensive player down the stretch if they're going to get in.
Okay, starting pitcher. I'm going to say Garrett Cole. That guy's got to really get consistently good again. He's obviously shown since the substance stuff came out. He had the complete game shutout in Houston, which was one of the best regular season starts I think I've ever seen. Followed by the Red Sox start where he went 6 innings, 11 strikeouts, but followed that up with 2, bad starts really. Didn't go deep in games. He's got to figure it out. Now I think that Blake alluded to this, the Corona stuff, you don't want someone to get Corona, obviously, but him and Monty getting a little bit of a breather here might not be the worst thing in the world as we enter the stretch run here. So it's Garrett Cole. You got to have your ace pitching well. Jameson Taillon is great. He can't be the ace of the team, which he is right now. Jordan Montgomery's been awesome as well. I would say also Luis Severino. I don't want to put too much pressure on a guy coming back from Tommy John. Just do your thing. Give me 5 innings if you can. And we'll hand it over the bullpen for Sevy. But Garrett Cole starts and stops with him, as it always does. The $300 million man. Bullpen wise, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go out of the box here because obviously you want to say Loaizaga. I'm gonna say Lucas Licky. He's been so consistently good all year. You look at his numbers. I was at the stadium this week, and you just look up at the scoreboard. It's like that many strikeouts. It's such a great strike to walk ratio with him. He's so consistent. He gives up such soft contact. He's been such a steady hand out of the pen really all year. He's got to continue to do that and come in. They're going to ask him to get big outs as the lefty there. They got a ton of guys now. Like, they're deep. Like, I even like Steven Ridings a lot with his one-on-one fastball and all that, and Clay Holmes just deucing ground balls left and right. They all of a sudden have turned in a bullpen here. Now, like, it's still shaky with Chapman and Britton, but they've got a bullpen that has potential to be very, very nasty. And the offensive bat for you, I mean, I think it's Stanton. How could it not be Stanton? I mean, the at-bats the last few days have been actually really nice. The swings have been good and also with Stanton, how much does he play the outfield? That's a big part. Because with Luke Voit sitting on the bench right now in the minor leagues, they have no place for him. But if you add Luke Voit to this offense as your DH and you're allowed to play Stanton in left field or right field, that adds a whole different level to this lineup. So that's why I'm putting so much emphasis on Stanton being important. Does he play the outfield more? Does he hit the ball? He's had a good year statistically. He's had a really bad month plus here, though. So it's all on Stanton to really get this whole offense to a whole new level.
Yeah, and that's one of the major issues with Stanton is that when he's been just a hitter, and with what he does and the one-dimensional stuff, he blocks a lot of the roster. You put him in the field, he can do more, you're more versatile, opens up the door. Speaking of Luke Voit, this is the last baseball one that I'll have you plug your stuff. What's next for this guy, Luke Voit?
So they got him in Scranton right now. He plays tonight. He had a day off yesterday. He had a home run, I think, on Sunday. But I read an article that they had multiple trades on trade deadline day ready to go, and teams pulled out, and for whatever reason. But they were trying to deal this guy for maybe some relief pitching or whatnot, but couldn't happen. I feel really bad for the guy. He led the league in home runs last year. He played on basically 1 foot. He had injury problems all year this year, starting with the meniscus, the obliques, and the knee again. I feel bad. He's a heart and soul of this team the last few years. He's the only guy who really gives a crap, and he says the things to the media when players just won't say anything. He'll be like, "Yeah, we stink right now." He'll just be very upfront about it. I like that stuff a lot. Luke's great. I feel bad though. He's in a very tough spot. Anthony Rizzo is starting first base for this team moving forward without question. Maybe Luke can spell him a day or two, but for the most part, Rizzo's out there. And then with Stan's going to be your DH, there's no spot for Luke Voit. So that's why Stan playing the outfield will allow Voit maybe to get some at-bats. At worst, I guess he's an off-the-bat bench player. But they got to get Luke on this team, most importantly, and in this lineup. Because if you add him to this lineup, man, I mean, at the end of the day, he's an OBP machine. He sees good pitches. He's a power bat. You need Luke Voit in there. So I really hope they find a way to do it. Now, unfortunately, they're probably going to find a way in him because this team just doesn't stay healthy enough that the opportunity will just present itself for Luke Voit to have some at bats with this team. But we'll see. For the Luke Voit guy over the last few years, I really feel bad for what's going on with him, and I hope he gets an opportunity.
Take 30 seconds on promoting some of the apparel with Gallo and Rizzo in the Bronx, right? You guys are selling some cool stuff?
Yeah, we put out an Italian Stallion shirt that our designer Triggs designed. He's fantastic, and he came out with it, and I think it's awesome. And they've been selling like wildfire out there. So go to store.barstoolsports.com, search Italian Stallions, and you'll find our stuff. We're tweeting a bunch, and it's on our Instagram and all that. But it's some good stuff. So you might be able to see it around Yankee Stadium hopefully the next month or two.
Love it. At Barstool Hubs on Twitter, MLB Yankees writer and editor for Barstool Sports, and the host of the Short Porch, a Syracuse alum, Eric Hubbs. Eric, thanks a lot for the time, and hey, I know how pumped you are for SU football, man. It's right around the corner.
Yeah, you know me, Mr. SU football.
That's right, bud. Hey, thanks again, man. All right.
I appreciate it.
The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by Rosie's Corner, the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group, Welch & Company Jewelers, and our great friends at Burton Ace Hardware. If you're in and around Central New York today, make sure you stop on by. It's a Children's Miracle Network bucket sale. You make a $5 donation and receive 20% off anything that fits in a bucket. Some exceptions do apply, but you can get quite a bit in those buckets, and it's just great, great, great stuff. It's an awesome cause. You know what you can fit in this bucket, by the way? A Delta Porter faucet. That'll fit in that CMN bucket. That's right. 20% off for that item with room to spare in the bucket. Again, at Burton Ace Hardware today. Route 11. Get on over there. If you're in and around the area, you make a $5 donation. You get 20% off anything that fits in the bucket. And it all supports the Children's Miracle Network bucket sale at Burton Ace Hardware. Tip of the cap, thank you as well to Matt Graham, your State Farm agent, and the Allen Angs Pub and the Swan and Whitaker families for their support of the ML Sports Platter. Big time thanks to Katie Sharp and Eric Hubbs. I'm Mike Lindsley. This is the ML Sports Platter. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports, and be sure to visit pinstripepassion.com for my coverage on the New York Yankees and Major League Baseball. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.